Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Unarmored Talk podcast. I am still your host, Mario P. Fields. Again, 2 weeks go by pretty fast, but we got another guest who is willing to remove their armor to help people develop an accurate way of thinking. We got Erik Therwanger, right? Did I say it right?
You
Therwanger.
did, yes. Sergeant Major, you said it. You nailed it.
Please call me Mario. But before we get to our amazing guest, before we get to our amazing Marine veteran guest, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everyone. I can't do it without you. What is a podcast without guests? People who consume the audio and the video. So thank you so much. And please continue to share with friends and family members to help people today and years to come down the road. So I'm done with that. Oh, one last thing. All of those views have been generating more funds to Still Serving Incorporated. The next check donation ceremony is going to be the last week of April. So if you watch any videos or you share the content, you are making a difference in Pitt County, North Carolina. All right, I'm done with the admin. I'm done with that stuff. Erik, my friend, welcome to the show.
Mario, it's so good to be here. We were just mentioning how long it's been. It seemed like it was forever, and here it is today.
I'm telling you. And ladies and gentlemen, Erik, by the way, you guys heard me mention it earlier. He's a Marine veteran. He's an author of The Leadership Connection, and he's also the founder of, you guys can see that beautiful screen back in, behind him, Think Great Experience podcast. If you have not subscribed to the Think Great Experience podcast, shame on you. Shame on you. Hit the button, follow him, download some amazing episodes, get on there.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you.
No, thank you. So, hey, can you please do me a favor, tell the listeners and viewers just a little bit about yourself, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I was in the Marine Corps. I went in 87, served till 91. I got out right after the first Gulf War. Interesting enough, I went in open contract. And so for some of your listeners that might not be familiar with that, that means I didn't pick a job. The Corps picked one out for me. And it was about 2 days before I graduated boot camp. And they said I was going to be a 7311. I didn't know what that was. And they ended up telling me, I'm going to talk to airplanes. They said a few other words that I can't repeat here. But right. I would talk to airplanes. I later found out I was going to be an air traffic controller. So I was in 3rd Marine Air Wing. I was an air traffic controller at a Yuma. And then I wrapped up my tour in El Toro and used my GI Bill. And I ended up going to film school. So I went to film school at the University of Southern California, Orange Coast College first, and then USC's film school. Worked in the film industry for a long time, ended up running a media company. And during that time period, my wife had been diagnosed with cancer. She ended up being diagnosed and surviving 4 battles of cancer. So I became a caregiver. And she passed away of cardiac arrest in 2016 due to cardiac arrest. All the treatments that she had over the years attacked her heart. And I went into that military mode, and I was doing CPR, and the first responders got there, but they couldn't bring her back until the 3rd hit with the defibrillator, and they brought her back. She'd been dead for 15 minutes. And so I've taken all of my life experiences, whether it's being a Marine, being a caregiver, running a media company, and quite a while, about 10 years ago, I started Think Great. And now I get to go all over the country, and I teach people how to think great on leadership or sales or strategic planning. And then, as I mentioned to you earlier, we started a foundation and we award scholarships to military spouses.
Wow. And I'm sorry again to hear that, the passing of your lovely bride. And let's
but
talk
she's
about
back. So they did bring her back.
Oh, no, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
She passed, but then she, right, the passing of your lovely bride, and you had to experience that.
Yes.
And then they revived her because of you. So I wanted to talk about that again, because even though they brought her back, you still experienced that she was gone.
Yeah.
And we can't take away from that, Erik, if you don't mind. But what let's go back. You have done a lot of things. Film industry. You've been the caregiver. Unexpectedly, young wife with cancer. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, she was 27 when she first got diagnosed.
Yeah, right. And ladies and gentlemen, by the way, my definition of young is anything south of 100. Right? If you're 99,
that's right. I like that.
If you're 99 and below, you're young in Mario P. Fields' mind. So, but what was it about the Marine Corps that made you join? Why not any other branch of service, my friend?
So, I went to a recruiting station in Pomona, California, because my friend, she had already enlisted in the Army, and she knew that I wanted to serve our great nation. And so, I was talking to her about it, and she goes, you could come speak to my recruiter. So I said, okay, that's great. I didn't know at the time, she would have got points for promotion if I had enlisted, but that's a whole separate story. But I went to the super station on recruiting, and they had the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps there. So, these guys were all in competition with each other. And I was there to see the Army recruiter, and he was a great guy. He came out, a sergeant, came out, met me, started to tell me immediately the things that I could get, the GI Bill, the VA loan, the health benefits, and he had his brochures, and they all had tanks on them in camouflage. And I thought, hey, this is, it's 1987, I'm like, hey, I could use a tank. I would like that. But he actually went in and he had to speak to my friend on some things on her enlistment. So I kind of wandered around there, and I ended up making my way over to the Navy recruiter, and another great guy came out and told me all about the Navy. And he had the same brochures with the GI Bill, VA loan, health benefits, except they all had ships on it. And I'm like, wow, I could see myself on a ship. This
Well, I could take an aircraft carrier just on a lake.
I would like one of those. Yeah, I deserve one. So anyways, I go over to the Air Force recruiter. Another great recruiter comes out, tells me all about the Air Force, same 3 brochures, except they have airplanes. I'm like, all right, now I need a jet, right? I need a fighter jet. And so at the end of the hallway was the Marine recruiter. So they kind of stuck him all the way in the back. And I walk down the hallway and I look in, and he's there working at his desk. And yeah, I was 17 and a half. And I didn't really have a lot of confidence. So I just stood there for a second, and, he's working at his desk, and he looks up at me, and then he goes back to work. And I'm like, whoa, okay, this is different. And
so wait a minute. So you walk in,
I'm standing right in the hatch. I'm standing right there. Like I hadn't even stepped in yet. I'm just standing there, and he noticed me, and he went back to work. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm really insecure. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do right now. So he keeps working for, I don't know, it seemed like forever. And then he looks up, puts his pen down, and says, can I help you? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm interested in becoming a Marine. And he says, get in here. So I step in, and I couldn't hide my brochures fast enough. And I saw that he looked at them. And he said this. So 2 things happened in there, Mario, that really impacted me. First, he said, we've got all that stuff. We have it too. And he said, but becoming a Marine's not about what you get, it's about who you become. And I've shared this story so many times. At 17 and a half, I didn't know who I wanted to become, but I wanted to become someone. And he struck this nerve, and he had my attention. And then he stood up, and he said, I have one question for you. And I said, yes. And he said, do you have what it takes to be one of the best? And I said, I do. At this point, his whole demeanor shifted. He smiled and he says, well, let's talk. And I never went and even, I don't even remember saying goodbye to the other recruiters. I left there and had him come and meet my parents. And 6 months later, I was in boot camp.
Wow. And here you are standing there like, you don't see me, man. And he's like, look, you're bothering me.
He was filtering me out already.
And just to go, what do you, like you said, it's not about, it's what do you want to become? And let's talk about that. And so reflecting back a little bit, what in your words, what have you become, right? From 17-year-old kind of confused kid to now you're 21.
When I got out, I became very clear. I went in, I was never going to make a career out of it. I wanted my first experience out of high school to serve our country. That I wanted that.
Right.
And so I was able to do that in the Marine Corps, and it was an incredible experience. When I was inside of there, the amount of confidence it built in me, here we are, we can rappel, we can fire our weapons accurately 500 yards. You can go on a forced march and a run. You can run 10 miles. You can do all of these things. I became an air traffic controller. That's insane. I'm 18 years old in a control tower. The amount of confidence built in me to become a warrior was was priceless. It's undefinable. And so when I got out, I felt like I could do anything. So I always loved the movies. I went into the movie industry. I went to film school first, and my first semester, I was out for 3 weeks in 1991. I started film school. And fortunately, my first semester, I took all elective classes. So I watched 51 movies at Orange Coast College, 51 my first semester. I'm like, how can you fail this, right? Not even a Marine, I'm going to pass. Well, I ended up getting a 4.0 for that semester. And I'm like, okay, but that I was watching movies. So then the next semester came around, and instead of 4 classes of movies, I had 2 film classes and 2 general ed. So like political science and astronomy or something like that. And inside I said, and I didn't have the best grades in high school, but inside I said, I want to get that 4.0 again. And I did. And I ended up graduating college as the valedictorian, as the guest. I was the speaker, I was the valedictorian. I had a 4.0. Even my family's like, you should check your grades again. Like I said, no, it really says 4.0. And that's what, yeah.
And your family's like, Eric, come get some tea here. Here's a pie.
That's a little different than the grade point average you had 4 years earlier before going to the Corps.
Yeah, we got to check, because is this the same Eric?
Even I was thinking that, Mario. I was like, wow, what did I just do? And so then I applied to USC's film school and I got in.
Right.
And so the Corps established, I can overcome any obstacle. And then I worked in the film industry, and I was very blessed to work in that industry for a long time. And then when my wife got diagnosed with cancer, it helped me to really evaluate my role, and I became a caregiver. And so I knew that when her doctor, they taught me how to be a caregiver. So I had to give her shots in the legs. I had to clean the tube that stuck out of her chest. And, we know how to take care of the person to our left and to our right. So we get that. And so I did that. But one of her oncologists says to me right before they did the first chemotherapy, they said, I need you to do something to help her fight back. And I said, I'll do whatever it takes. And I had been out of the Corps now for a number of years. He said, I need you to keep her positive and keep her spirits high. And I'm like, look, I know how to do some motivation, right? I get it. But it was different when they have cancer. We're not going out on a run. We're not calling cadence. And so I started to really tap into the power of goal setting. And I realized that when we were in the Corps, we were accomplishing all these goals, just one goal after the next, to get to the next goal of becoming a Marine, then getting through our MOS school. And it was a lot of goal setting. And so I started to really share that concept with Gina when she was sick, like, let's set some goals. And so all of this experience led to me creating my company in about 2009, 2010, with just 2 words, think great. And now I've become a personal and professional development coach, a speaker, an author. And I think I'm just getting started. I feel like,
Eric, I believe you're just getting started. And I love how you talked about how to think great is a choice, and how you used your experience, your life experiences, to make that choice to start to think great. Yeah. But with that, during the time that your wife had experienced some unexpected life challenges, at one point, did you feel helpless?
Oh, I remember there was a lot of nights where I couldn't sleep, where it seemed like it was heading down a pathway that we didn't really want to talk about, but we had to. And there were times where, during that time, I left the film industry and I started in financial services sales, knew nothing about either financial services or sales, but I just wanted to try and have some time to be a caregiver and make some money, and both were challenging. So there were times where, my truck was repossessed. We lived in a little apartment in Chino Hills, California. And one night I was coming home from an appointment, trying to earn some money. And, she called me, and she's bald at this point. She's going through chemo, and she says, hey, they just turned off our electricity, and it was nighttime. And, there was times like that. And I remember what the oncologist said, keep her positive, keep her spirits high. So I tried to put a positive spin, and I said, well, it'd be nice to eat dinner by candlelight tonight. But after I got off the phone with her, sometimes things like that would hit. But as the caregiver, you can't show them that. They're going through their challenges. So anything else, you kind of absorb that. And I really credit the Marine Corps to putting us in that fog of war and boot camp, to putting us in these situations where it seemed like insurmountable odds were against us, and yet we could come out victorious. And so I tapped in. I mentally checked back in. I re-enlisted mentally, if you will. I put the boots back on. I put the camis on, and mentally I was back into Marine mode for the way that I think and the way that I act. And that helped me, and I feel also helped Gina to get through this, because losing control wasn't an option, even though everything was out of control.
Right.
I had to stay in control. And I credit that as much as I credit the Marine Corps for me getting a 4.0. I credit the Marine Corps for me getting into film school, for starting my own business, for authoring books, and for being a better caregiver to my wife. I learned so much in there about the people side of things, not just the war side of things, which I think is a common perception people have.
Yeah.
But I became when you asked, I became a better person, not perfect by any means. And there'll be a lot of people who say he's not perfect. I just feel that I created a different perspective having been in there, and
Wow.
it allowed me to stay focused on the important things. And
Yeah.
that I'm
Wow.
eternally grateful for.
No, thank you. And to think great, and again, we are. I can say I'm happy that that Gina's still here with us, and
Thank you.
and I love how like you said, you mentally went back into that portfolio of human skills that you learned in the Marines, and started to think out of the box. And I love the candlelight. I'm gonna have to use that one if I forget to pay our electric bill.
It works.
Hey, babe, let's look at let's choose to take a positive approach.
You have to.
Let's have a
Yeah.
candlelight dinner. But so now, looking back on all of the things that you were challenged with, the things that you accomplished. I mean, you're a busy man. No, I won't say busy. You're having fun, because the definition of busy is you're doing things you have to do. And Erik, I've watched you over the last few months. You're having fun, my friend.
I am.
And so reflecting back on this journey from the time you stood in that door, right? Hatch for you folks on active duty and veterans there, but door, and they looked at you like, what the heck do you want, to today? What one piece of advice could you give the listeners and viewers today?
I would say that never stop believing in yourself. No matter what comes your way, no matter who comes your way, there's that belief in yourself, and the knowledge that you can control two things: your thoughts and your actions. And we've had a lot of challenges, whether it's health related or financial, or even just starting your own business. You know how that is, or starting your own foundation. And so no matter who the challenge was or what the challenge was, at the end of the day, I could make the decision to control my thoughts and control my actions. I could make that decision to think great. Nobody could take that away from me. If I surrendered it, I did it at my own peril. So
Right.
if I didn't surrender and I just held on to that, no matter what happened, I could make it through it. I could overcome. I could come out victorious on the other side. And so I think that really, when I created the company Think Great, it was because of the thoughts and the processes and the perceptions of belief in myself I learned in the Marine Corps. And I made it through some challenging times there as a caregiver, in business, you name it. And it really came down to lacing those bootstraps up and saying, hey, I got this, and I'm gonna stay the course. I'm gonna go back to that leadership trait, endurance, with JJ Dib Tie Buckle, right? Endurance. That's one that I had to really tap into during the caregiver days. Endurance. I got to make it through, So that was a big one, have the endurance to make it through. It's better on the other side.
Erik, thank you so much. I mean, you've inspired and motivated me, my friend, and everyone. You guys heard it from Erik. I mean, he's doing great things. And before I let him go, continue to have fun, inspiring thousands of people around the world on his podcast and various platforms. How can people find you, my friend?
Yeah. So our website, thank you. Our website is thinkgreat90.com, thinkgreat90.com. For my speaking engagements, it's Erik, Erik Therwanger, THERWANGER.com. And you can also email me at Erik, Erik @thinkgreat90.com. Love to hear from you.
My man. Also, guys, he's popular. You can put his name in the search engine, click that video tab, and some wonderful speeches that come up in the YouTube world. But
Thank you.
Erik, thank you so much. Tell Gina Hello from Unarmored Talk team, just me and my wife, and
I
all the
love it.
listeners and viewers. We love you guys, and Semper Fi, my friend.
Semper Fi. Thanks so much, Mario.
No, take care. Well, ladies and gentlemen, till next time, we'll see you guys soon. God bless. Be safe.